by watching some of the other mainstream media outlets, or reading them for that matter, that there are 3 Republican candidates for St. Louis mayor in tomorrow's primary: James Osher, Andy "Candy" Karandziv, and Andrew Jones, who is here with me right now in the studio. Nice to see you, Andrew Jones.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Interestingly enough, the coverage of the Republican side of the primary hasn't been thorough, and it's odd because the predetermination is that any Democrat who wins the primary is suddenly the mayor of St. Louis. But you're saying not so fast.
Not so fast. We know that is the standard philosophy, but we certainly believe that we have a message that resonates and people are starting to listen. So we think we can give that a competitive run.
Right. And what is that message?
The message is a 4-part message of solving the problems for the city of St. Louis. We call it a Grand Slam program. It's based off of solving the violent crimes within the city, promoting effective economic development and business development, community development plan, ensuring, number 3, that our schools do better, strengthen our schools, and more importantly, we're looking at developing our workforce. We think that's a very proud and a very noble initiative that will help the city. And last but not least, the reason that I'm running is because of civic excellence. We're trying to promote civic excellence. We all know that if you go back to some of the great philosophers, they say that a civilization is only as good as its citizens, and that's our philosophy.
And we have had a Republican mayor, guys. I'm just letting you know that. We've had him before, so just so you know, it's not always been Democrats. But to your point about economic development, we had the debate with the Democratic candidates. Lyda Cruzan didn't show up, but the other 4 were there. And we talked, for instance, about the earnings tax. How do you feel about the earnings tax?
The earnings tax is something that I believe we can, if we are effective with our fiduciary responsibilities, something that we can move away from. I'm certainly saying that if you look at staying competitive with our regional partners in the city of St. Louis and the metropolitan area, we certainly want to move away because some of those particular municipalities leverage the fact that we do have that earnings tax, and that kind of makes us not competitive with others.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because there are a lot of people who think that way, because we always think, well, we just need this tax because otherwise we can't afford it. We can't afford to do this without it. Well, maybe you can if you go back to the drawing board and start to look at ways you are spending money that might be wasteful or that might be unnecessary or whatever. I mean, just be like we are at home, where we have to manage our finances based on the kind of income we get in. And in the city's case, without an earnings tax, there's a possibility you can actually have that economic growth and companies wanting to drop their anchor there.
And the reason that we have this effective implementation of economic development plans is the fact that we don't have a strategic plan for the city of St. Louis, something that I've uncovered in my little preliminary investigations. And certainly they utilize some of the most ineffective tactics, particularly when you lead with incentive programs, particularly with commercial and industrial customers. Certainly you don't want to do that. That's old school. You want to have the school of thought where you let the city sell itself, and if there's a competitive influence somewhere else, you will probably come up with some level of package, a very slim package at the very tail end.
Got a little lightning round going here. How about the situation with funding for stadiums? How do you feel about opening up the Treasury to buy
lightning round,
purchase stadiums, that kind of thing, and build stadiums?
I've been adamant about not doing so. When you look at MLS, for instance, you're looking at and I brought this up in all the forums, the MLS has not been a profitable organization and institution since its inception 21 years ago. So if that's the case, if you sit this on my desk, it should certainly find the round file quickly.
Minimum wage, increasing the minimum wage. How do you feel about that?
Well, theoretically and applied, certainly we know that small businesses, that impacts small businesses. And if we can go back with economic study, we can go back to the Bacon-Davis Act, where it has absolutely hurt entry-level employees to get jobs, particularly if you go back to about the 1940s. African-American youth at this particular point in time have a high double-digit unemployment rate. But back before the implementation of the minimum wage, African-Americans exceeded white youth in jobs because they were able to get those entry-level jobs and develop those soft skills.
Very interesting. Now, this is a yes or no, because we were out of time here. City-county merger.
Needs investigation.
Well, that's pretty much the answer a lot of people give. I think everybody out there thinks it needs investigation, so I can get that.
And if you want to try to look at moving forward with it, it will take a process, but we have to shure up the city of St. Louis, because right now we're the pig with lipstick on.
That is for sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
That was good.
Holman in the morning. Common Sense Radio.
He is super sharp, and if Lyda Cruzan winds up debating him, it'll be a hell of a debate.
Hope that happens.
Me too. That'll be a good time.
She didn't think she needed to debate some of the other guys, but I don't know whether she's going to get away with not debating him. 969-9797, 866-455-9797.